It's been over a year, and almost every possible challenge in Baldur's Gate 3 has been attempted. People have beat it without moving, without killing anything, and in so many crazy ways. But through all of this, there's been a challenge that no one has ever attempted, and no one has ever beaten. A challenge so incredibly hard, it took over 15 whole playthroughs for me to beat. I'm of course talking about beating Baldur's Gate 3 without healing, solo, and on honor mode. It's a challenge that seems hard given any damage taken would be permanent damage, and enemies are able to easily hit and kill you. But today, and throughout the last 3 months, I have attempted to beat Baldur's Gate 3 without ever healing and conquer the major foes of the game while at death's door all the way through it. Let's start with the rules of this challenge. No healing means no using any items to restore health like potions, spells, or scrolls. However, I am the only one that can't be healed, so keeping potions in my inventory for allies and summons is still a viable strategy. This also means no resting of any kind unless it's forced, but even then I have to keep my health reduced based on the amount of damage I've taken. This makes it near impossible to get spell slots, item uses, and any other abilities back. To help keep track of this, I will have a counter on screen that's updated whenever I take damage. The next major complication is me playing on honor mode, meaning enemies have higher chances to hit me, have legendary actions, and if I'm reduced to 0 health, I cannot continue in Dishonor and must start a brand new game. A message like this one will appear on screen when you see footage from a previous playthrough, which I will show at times. If you see the message, that means it's footage not from the current playthrough. The only major restriction is no mods. Exploits are allowed and completely necessary to survive this challenge. Temporary hit points from sources are allowed if they are temporary, because it technically is not healing, but I want to still keep it fair. But will that be enough to conquer no healing? Also, before we begin, I want to give a massive shout out to Boosh, whose challenge involving beating Baldur's Gate 3 with 0 AC inspired me to make this challenge, to try and do the exact opposite of what he did. So make sure to go check out his channel, which is linked in the description. On to the video. The first major decision of character creation was a very big one, as any class with limited resources would just not work. For starting class, I decided to go with Ranger, and for race, I really only had 2 options, Deep Gnome or Dwergar, given both have a very powerful and very easy way of getting out and staying out of fights wherever it is necessary. Dwergar have a near permanent invisibility at level 5, but Deep Gnomes are very resistant to magic and have advantage on stealth checks. I decided on a Deep Gnome and maxed out my dexterity and constitution, while keeping my strength very low. This gives us 13 starting health. The one downside of this is this puts us in some of the worst armor in the game with a base AC of 13, but that would be fixed soon. To finish off our untouchable character, we named him the Wound Urge 17 because this is the 17th playthrough. And also because we need to resist the urge to be wounded in this battle if we have any hope of beating this challenge. I thought it'd be really funny to make almost all of them look identical and went with the same build for almost every attempt. I woke up on the Nautiloid and immediately freed us, so we could have an extra character to take hits for us. Then we encounter Ethel, who rushed us into combat against some imps that we easily defeat without taking any damage. Then we borrow Ethel's armor and free Shadowheart to borrow her shield, skyrocketing our AC from 13 to 19. We gunned it past the fight against Sulk after taking out everything that could do damage to the Wound Urge, and reached the transponder to send us into Act 1. We needed as much XP as possible in order to level up and get some more health, so I recruited some companions and sent them to camp immediately for the XP, and killed a Mind Flayer, allowing me to reach level 2. Leveling up is very important. This is the only way to get effective more health, because your hit point maximum increases as well as your current hit points based on how much you gain. This allowed me to pick up the defense fighting style, raising my armor class to 20, and the spells Enhanced Sleep and Long Strider, which are very importantly both ritual spells. We needed to take out everything in the area nearby, and using my dip action to give my crossbow extra damage, we use hit and run tactics to take out the intellect devourers and loot them. After that, we headed into the direction of Withers. We ambush the bandits and take them all out without any damage taken. The upcoming fight in the Crypt was a really tough fight. I was dreading this, but I had a plan. It was very simple. Leave the area and get level 3 first. I reached the entrance to the Emerald Grove, and used Enhanced Leap to get up to the area where Zevlor was, and enter combat by blowing the Warhorn. On my turn, I took my character and just had him blow the Warhorn every turn, to ensure no one died, and the fight was easily won without us taking any damage. This is also allowed because the rallied status effect only lasts for 5 turns. Once inside, we chatted up the locals to take any possible quests we could, defeated a bugbear assassin, and killed the 2 tieflings trapping Lae'zel to reach level 3. This is a massive power spike, because importantly, we choose the Gloomstalker Ranger subclass, which granted us bonus to initiative and the ability to hide as a bonus action, allowing us to be incredibly stealthy. It also gives us an additional attack on the first round of combat that deals extra damage. What's important is because I didn't want to die, I used a little trick that involved selling a backpack to a merchant, shift-clicking their entire inventory into that backpack, and shift-clicking that into a backpack in our inventory, which gives us all their items for free. Using this trick, we take some hill giant strength potions from Auntie Ethel to increase our strength straight up to 21. Now at level 3, we used hit and run tactics to take out the bandits in the crypt without taking any damage, by ducking in and out and using Dread Ambusher as well as the hide feature to avoid and break combat whenever necessary. Then I headed in the direction of withers. Though the fight with the skeletons is normally trivial, we cannot fight them head on, because we need to take as little damage as possible. So we press the button and barricade the door into Wither's room to stop any of them from getting to me. So long as I never give them line of sight to hit me with a spell or rock, I will be able to take no damage, is what I wrote in the script. Somehow the warrior went through the wall and threw a stone at me, which hit me for 7 damage. After that one skeleton got in, it gave the others the idea that they could also clip through walls. But after that one hit, we beat the skeletons without taking any more damage and freed withers. After that encounter, we returned to the grove to save Arabella, which we almost failed to do before talking to Mole, who wants the druid's idol. Sure, here you are. While we're there, we casually scam Mole and take all of her items using the glitch. Then we proceed into the blighted village and grab the parasite from Edwin before sending his siblings into the Owlbear cave. It's a shame they think I'll help them. Like every other YouTuber, I disguise myself as a drow and scare off some goblins to get more XP from the guards at the gate. We also pick up the haste helm from a locked chest, which gives us additional movement speed at the start of combat. Very useful for us. We free Barkus Root and proceed into the basement of the apothecary to get the scroll for Shovel, who will be mandatory for later use. We make sure to equip the speedy Lightfoot boots and gloves of missile snaring. Our disguise gets us into the goblin camp, and we perform the same tricks on Grat the trader to take all of his items. We importantly need to let Volo be taken away and get our way past the goblins at the gate, to use the same exploit to take all of Rora Moonglow's items. After taking any and all items for sale in the goblin camp, free of charge, we make sure to get branded by Priestess Gut. This will provide some benefits further down the road. Then, we begin our slaughter of goblins at the blighted village because we need the experience. We use strategies of stealth to pick off the enemies one by one, and stay out of their range to avoid the arrows. We can break combat whenever we like, and because the goblins are so tolerant, they'll forget it was us who killed their friends. Once the majority of the enemies are defeated in the blighted village, I headed down to the swamp to complete Kaga's quest. The fight against the Mephits will be normally very hard to beat in straight combat, so I sniped them from across the bridge where they couldn't get to me. I thought they couldn't reach me because they just went to as close as they could get me and passed their turns. But one of them flew across and threw mud at me, hitting me for another 3 damage. I had to pick off the enemies 1 or 2 at a time before returning to camp to lose aggro. Once the final Mephit was slain, we recruited the ogres to reach level 4. We gave ourselves +1 to Constitution and Dexterity, with the ability score improvement feature, and visited Auntie Ethel to exploit our way into some more hill giant strength potions before we had to sneak into our basement. Our current build was not going to beat Ethel's solo, so we needed to visit Withers to respec into a Swords Bard for that double attack flourish and improved stats to try and get our hair for that +1 to any ability score. We make sure to reduce ourselves back to our damage count. We descend into her lair and sneak past the masked slaves to reach Ethel. We use a mage hand to trigger the fight and shot an arrow of ice at the cage to stop the fire. Then, I had the Wound Urge jump his way back up and use the returning pike to snipe Ethel's clones and masked slaves. So long as none of them get a line of sight to attack me, we can easily win the fight. The clones and some of the slaves also started walking through the poison clouds, which made the clones disappear. But while fleeing, I also took 1 damage from crossing into the poison clouds. Because the hag refuses to climb up the pathways, we are free to rain pikes down on her until she surrenders. Attempts to get both Mayrina and Ethel's hair fail, and we choose to save Marina, as we absolutely need her for the next exploit of the run. Well, not her. We pick up the Bitter Divorce Wand and make sure to keep the wand after bringing back Connor Vinderblad from the dead. Now, with the hag gone and Connor in our possession, we are going to perform another exploit to almost reach level 5. We head back to Withers to respec into Cleric to get access to the Silence spell and bring Gale into our party. There is a reason I've been avoiding Raphael the entire game. But this is where that has to end. I took Gale up to where Raphael normally spawns and had him destroy the ladder behind him and initiate the cutscene. Then, switching over to the Wound Urge, we cast Silence on Raphael and make sure to kill Gale. We stuff Gale's necrotic corpse into a backpack because it will deal damage to everybody. This is something we need to do so that we can take out Raphael. But we do need to shove his corpse into a barrel by getting close to him, which causes us to take 1 necrotic damage from necrosis, but doing so, now Raphael can be moved around with the barrel. This is why I needed Connor Vinderblad, so I could infinitely summon him to drag the barrel with Gale's corpse to get Raphael up the ladder and then have Connor destroy it. Now Raphael is trapped up there, slowly taking damage, and eventually he'll be reduced to 0 HP, so I'm gonna go get a snack, see you later. After coming back to a 0 HP Raphael, Connor moved the barrel away, and I used a non-lethal attack to get the 1400 XP from killing him. Killing with quotation marks. He disappears here, which is also important. He'll be back later. Our next step was dealing with the Goblin camp, and I want to hit level 5 first if I could. But first, I need to respec back into Ranger. You might be wondering how I reduced my HP back to any remaining hit points based on how much damage I've taken. Well, I built a box tower to jump down repeatedly from it, taking fall damage. Now that I had killed Raphael, we headed over to Joaquin's Rest and saved Counselor Floric, so I can get her as an ally later. I decided it'd be really funny to push the tiefling scouting the Githyanki down to them. I didn't realize it would initiate combat and make the Gith hostile, but I came prepared. I sounded the ogre's war horn and they arrived ready for battle. Thankfully, before combat had started, I was able to take down one of the raiders with stealth, because they have crazy bonuses to hit attacks with. I threw the other raider down, and the ogres initially just sat around, not wanting to do anything, until one of them misty stepped up to me, bringing them into the battle. The ogres proceeded to get hit by absolutely everything after taking out the Githyanki Gish. The strongest one was currently invisible, causing one of the ogres to flee the battle. The captain began killing the ogres very easily, one by one, despite previously being annihilated by them. Only Lump was left in the end when we killed the captain, thankfully without taking any damage, thanks to some help from Connor. Just short of level 5, I headed across the Risen Road to kill some newborn gnolls and accept the Paladin of Tears quest to kill Karlach. We replace our Githyanki armor for +1 scale armor, giving us an AC of 21. Karlach doesn't stand a chance, but before that, I had to do some more exploit shopping for more gear and taking out isolated goblins. I positioned myself on high ground and began sniping Minthara and the other goblins, desperate for that 5th level. Minthara, for some reason, refused to come near me, and I was able to kill her without much difficulty. I headed to the Warg Pens to free Halsin, also without taking any damage. With his help, we killed a few more goblins to hit level 5, where I got a second attack per turn and learned the Misty Step spell. I took out Priestess Gut very easily by shoving her off a ledge multiple times. But Droragzlin was going to be tricky. We had to use Connor multiple times to lure enemies into favorable positions and bait out all their spell slots before my stealth tactics took him out. With all 3 leaders dead, we returned to the Grove to steal all of the merchant's gear again, because once you level up, their stock refreshes. We swapped out our scale mail for +2 chain shirt because of all the stealth bonuses it gives us. With the new gear I had, I went over to the Paladins of Tyr to kill them. First, we make sure to kill Karlach, which causes Anders to give us his sword, reducing his damage output greatly. Then, we make sure to steal all of the merchant's items using the exploit, before having Connor attack them over and over again. The Paladins were trivial in comparison to the next fight, Flint. In order to min-max our tadpole count, we need to take out Flint, but no long resting means I've already used my Lift the Tadpole command for the day at around the Goblin camp, so no getting the gnolls to reduce their numbers. To battle it is. Instead of going straight in and being instantly killed by the archers, I decided to get a bit more XP first, and maybe an upgrade to some of my items. We head into the Underdark and save the Poison Gnome for the Boots of Speed, a very helpful item with click heals, which effectively doubles our movement speed only as a bonus action. This helps us get as far from enemies as possible. If you're enjoying the video, why not subscribe to the channel? I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can. Back to the video. We've done everything we need to on the surface, and headed into the mountain pass. So far, we've taken 12 damage. Raphael shows up again, and because he has 0 HP, and already teleported away, we can use a non-lethal attack to knock him out, allowing us to grab the Helldusk armor, increasing our AC to 25, and reducing all damage taken by 3. Now that we have the best armor in the game, we backtrack to the Underdark, and accept Sovereign Spaw's quest to destroy the Duergar. We team up with Glut and fight some Minotaurs. By that I mean we push them off the edge so we can survive. We position our trio on the edge above the Duergar, and use stealth tactics to eliminate the archer and waste most of Gek's spells by infinitely casting Connor. Because of their inability to reach us, the fight ends very quickly, and we proceed to Grymforge. But first I return to that stupid Flint, and finally begin eliminating his gnolls, considering my 25 armor class. However, one of the hyenas crits me for 4 damage before I'm able to win the fight. The chest is ours, and we need to give it to the Zents for Herald, a very good crossbow. This also gives us access to the trader Brem's stock, and he sells the Giant Breaker, which would be our ranged weapon of choice. This weapon inflicts reeling on any target that it hits, reducing their chances to hit me. But there is no limit to how high it can stack, so shooting targets from stealth can hit 3 or 4 times before combat starts, getting stacks of reeling up to 6 or 7, reducing attack rolls by the same number. On the way to Grymforge, Corsair Grayman stops us, and I need the loot he has, so we need to fight him and all of his cronies. I have probably the craziest turn ever and kill 4 of the Duergar. I can't run in this battle, and if any of the archers get a turn, they can use fire arrows or bombs to kill me, so I summoned Connor to make sure the archers target him first. The final 2 aren't much of a threat, but shoving in this fight is so deadly as a gnome, and I can't leave my 13-hour playthrough up to just luck. I used a Misty Step spell to get away and kill the final one. Now in Grymforge, I sought to take out every Duergar just for the XP. I went up onto the catwalk and sniped the Duergar inspecting the corpses, then hid to make it impossible for them to retaliate. We also made a deal with Brithvar to take out Nier and get his gold. The Duergar or the Rothe are the hardest to deal with, but I lure them into the fire traps, and slowly wait until the fire traps are able to deal with them. I jumped my way past the oozes to get the rune powder barrel from Philomene. We also got the rune powder vial, which will be crucial to beating the game. After getting the explosives, we reached level 6, and gained poison resistance from our ranger class. We will use the tadpoles to gain access to Cull the Weak and Ability Drain, which will be very helpful in fights. We blow up the Scrying Eye, and free Nier from the rebel, only to turn on the dwarves. While the rebels fight for their lives, the Absolutists can go on a flight into the river. Nier and the Absolutists will never attack us while the rebels live, so we can use this opportunity to take out the Mind Masters because they have spells, and siding with the Duergar means the spells could target us. Once the rebels died, the game began to break massively, resulting in options that only showed as not found. That can't be good, so we decided to betray Nier here and now. It's only him and 2 allies, one of which easily goes down. Nier is a true soul, but like all creatures, he is blind to stealth tactics, and he goes down soon after. I did take on Grym, but nothing really happened during that fight. I just used the wand to summon Connor from up high, and lure him under the Forge Hammer again and again and again, until he was pulverized to death without me taking any damage. I headed over to where the mimics are, and used high ground to eliminate all of them without taking any damage to claim the wondrous gloves for an additional +1 to my armor class. Arriving in the mountain pass, we hit level 7 and beat up a crazy old lady before heading into the Githyanki creche. I confront the guards in front of the door by attacking mid-cutscene and climbing to the top of the roof to toss the Githyanki down from the ramparts, instantly killing them. We use Disguise Self to turn into a Githyanki to reach the creche without a fight and head straight to the infirmary. We try to get our tadpole removed and succeed the checks to make it even stronger, getting the Awakened buff. We negotiate some items from the vendor and get the Defender Flail, raising my AC to 28 and reducing non-magical damage taken by 1. A necessary weapon upgrade. This is where I discover not 1, not 2, but 3 exploits I could use to cheese the entire Githyanki creche. My fighting style is defense, and that gives me +1 to armor class while wearing armor. Funny enough, this does work on helmets as well, but most of them don't stack with any defense from armor. However, the Grimskull Helm and the Holy Lance Helm count as armor and stack with armor, giving me an additional +1 to armor class, bringing our AC up to 28, making it near impossible for any of the Githyanki to hit us. While I was fighting the youth Githyanki in the training room, I realized since I had the Deathstalker mantle that killing any of the Githyanki would turn me invisible, allowing me to disengage combat with any Githyanki. The youths all had low HP, so I used stealth tricks to avoid taking any damage before going to the Gith captain. We immediately hand over the artifact to the Kithrak and quickly follow the Inquisitor into his chambers. We used a few minor illusions to lure the Inquisitor to the edge and easily toss him off the ledge, killing him instantly. We break combat by hiding and repeat the same steps over and over and over again until all the Gith are dead, just by using my insane strength to toss them into the chasm. Before leaving, I make sure to steal the Blood of Lathander and watch the temple collapse behind me. We used invisibility to get past the Death Shepherds and enter Act 2. With that, I have beaten Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3, taking only 16 damage during its entirety. If you guys want to see more, please like the video and subscribe with all notifications, so you're notified whenever I upload that Act 2 video. Also, massive thanks for the 1,000 subscribers. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you guys enjoy what's to come. See you later.